Welcome back, everyone. For weeks now, we've stood on the mountain with Jesus. Now, I know we've also had that break while my computer was being restored, and I wanted to thank you all for your patience through all this. At the mountain, we listened as he blessed the broken, confronted the heart, called us into a secret righteousness, and challenged us with choices that cut to the soul. Now, as the crowd disperses, to take in all they heard, we follow Jesus down into the streets, where words now become action. Because the Sermon on the Mount was never meant to stay on the mountain. It was meant to walk into the world. Jesus didn't preach to create admirers. He preached to create disciples, men and women who would live what they heard. So let's follow him down the slope, into the dust, into the crowds, into the place where faith becomes flesh. When Jesus finishes speaking, Matthew tells us, when he came down from the mountain, great crowds followed him. Notice the order. He speaks, then he moves. He teaches, then he touches. He reveals, and then he restores. The mountain was the preparation, and now the valley becomes the application. And the very first person Jesus meets is not a scholar, not a priest, not a ruler, but a man society has pushed to the margins. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him. "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hands and touched the man. This is the first action after the Sermon on the Mount. Not a miracle of spectacle, but a miracle of compassion. Jesus touches the untouchable. He steps into the contamination zone, and he breaks the barrier everyone else obeyed. Why? Because the mountain taught us what love is. The valley shows us what love does. The leper didn't just need healing, he needed dignity. He needs someone to see him, touch him, to call him a human again. And Jesus says, "I am willing." The first blessing of the mountain, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," is now embodied in the valley. The king's first act is not of power, but of presence. It's compassion with skin on it. Next, Jesus meets a Roman centurion, a man who represents the very empire oppressing Israel. Yet listen to his words. "Lord, I am not worthy for you to come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed." Once again, we see something that was completely unheard of. A Roman centurion, in fact, submitting to a Jew. This man understands something Israel missed: authority, submission, trust. Jesus marvels at this. The only time in the gospel he is said to marvel at someone's faith. Why? Because the centurion doesn't ask for a sign. He doesn't demand proof. He doesn't negotiate. He simply believes. The mountain taught us what faith looks like. The valley shows us who can have it. Faith is not limited by background, ethnicity, or history. Faith is born wherever humility meets revelation. And how Jesus responds with just a word. Not a sacrifice, not a confession of our sins, but a word that travels farther than any soldier, farther than any empire, any boundary. With that, the servant is healed. Authority recognized, authority released. After healing the centurion's servant, Jesus gets into a boat with his disciples. Suddenly, a furious storm came upon the lake. This is not an accident. This is formation. The mountain taught them who Jesus is. The storm teaches them why they need him. Now we need to understand, these are seasoned fishermen, men who knew this lake, who knew these storms, but even this one breaks them. And they cry out, "Lord, save us." Now notice how Jesus answers them. "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Why would Jesus say this? Did he not understand the peril they were in? Of course he did. With that, Jesus speaks into the wind and waves like they were unruly children, and creation obeys. Because creation cannot overcome God's plan for our lives and his will. And this is the lesson. Sometimes we face storms in our own lives, and we can feel helpless. But if we are in line with God's will, nothing can hinder his plans for our lives. The disciples stare at him, soaked, trembling, and whispered, "What kind of man is this?" This is the moment the sermon becomes real. Not on the mountain, not in the crowd, but in chaos. Because storms reveal what the sermons cannot. Storms expose our fears, our limits, our illusions of control. And storms reveal the one who stands above them all. Matthew ends this section with the boat drifting towards the far shore, towards a place where the disciples have never been, towards a confrontation they are not ready for, as the storm already revealed, towards darkness that recognizes Jesus before people do. But that's where we'll go next time. Because the story doesn't end with calm waters. It continues where the shadows gather. So what do we do with this? We follow Jesus down the mountain. We touch the untouchable. We honor the humble. We trust him in the storm. Because the Sermon on the Mount was never meant to be admired. It was meant to be lived. The world doesn't need more people who can quote Jesus. It needs people who can embody him. People whose faith has hands, whose love has feet, whose obedience has weight. The mountain gave us the blueprint. The valley gives us the mission. So now, let us walk. So what'd you think? Did God speak to your heart during this? I'd love to hear it down below. Also, if you think that God could speak to others, please share this with them. And as always, like, share, subscribes are always a blessing to me as well. And of course, our Discord is always open to you. So until next time, God willing, God bless. Let him who has ears to hear, let us all hear.